Do you think there's something uniquely feminine about the idea of mentor and protege that was depicted on Damages? Could you see that happening in a similar series with men?
That's a good question. I've never thought of that. I mean, that only women would mentor younger women and not men?
I wouldn't say that,
Yeah.
because we know it's
I
not
certainly think it's possible, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's intriguing in that case. That's
Yes, and I think what was intriguing and kind of groundbreaking for Damages was that it was centered around two women.
Yeah. And you certainly got you got a very loyal viewership for that show.
Yes.
To the point where when it was canceled after 3 seasons, it was public furor and acclaim that brought it back.
Was there? I think, oh, good. I remember that FX, and I remember John Landgraf, who was an extraordinary, still, now he heads up at FX. It was such a testosterone-laden cable channel then that they honestly, after 3 years, didn't know what to do with us. Mm-hmm. He actually said that. And so they decided to pull out. Sony didn't want to pull out, and Sony finally found us a home with DirecTV, which was a hard place for people to find. Mm-hmm. The final 2 seasons. Why did I talk about that?
Oh, just because about the nature of the survival of the show.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yes. It was, yeah. I think when they were, I remember hearing the first year that it had more engagement, however they measured that more people were engaged than any other show on TV when it started, yeah.
What they used to call appointment television.
I guess so, yeah. Now you can stream it all in one fell swoop.
Of course. We're moving on to a film now that I know is close to your heart because you spent 20 years with it, and that's Albert Nobbs. Can you summarize for us, because you first performed it on stage, right?
Mm-hmm. I performed it off Broadway at the Manhattan Theater Club. A woman called Simone Ben Moussa had mounted it first in French at the Jean-Louis Barrault's Theater in Paris. And then she'd taken it to London and brought it to New York, and we did it in New York. And it was very austere, the set. And I remember learning mime for it. And the character just stayed with me. I just found it incredibly fascinating and heartbreaking and really compelling. And it took me I started producing in the early 90s, and during that time, I guess, must have been, because it took me from when I got the rights to when we actually gathered in Dublin, it was actually 14 years to bring it to fruition. Had started with one director, ended up with Rodrigo. Mm-hmm. And we had it was the best time. I also had to prove to myself that I was still right to play her. Mm-hmm. Much time had gone by, and I didn't assume. So I went to Matthew Mungle, who was a wonderful special effects artist, and Rodrigo got a cameraman and a studio.
Matthew Mungle's one of the great special effects makeup artists in the business. Yes,
and the thing that excited him was that at this point I was afraid that my face would get in the way. Mm-hmm. I originally did Albert way early in my career, but now people knew my face, and I thought, how can I play this character if all they can see is Glenn Close? Mm-hmm. So I had to prove to myself that somehow this would work. I sat in Matthew's studio, and he had devised changing the shape of my nose, making my ears bigger, give me a plumper in my lips, and then we had a temporary wig, and I looked up at one point, and it wasn't me anymore, and I started crying. I thought, there she is, and I could do it. And the fact that so much time had gone by, I think, made the ultimate Albert so much deeper and richer and heartbreaking than I would have been all those years
lived
earlier.
with her all those years.
Yes, even, subliminally, she was, sinking in.
That's a terrific movie. I wish more people would see. It didn't get, it was well received, but it didn't find the sizable audience I think it deserved.
I think they released it too late.
Mm-hmm.
They released it in January. I don't think, if Sony had had it, it probably would have had a different journey.
Not too late to find it, though, if you haven't seen Albert Nobbs. We're going to watch a clip from that, and then we're going to watch a clip from your current film, The Wife. And again, these stories always fascinate me, that they're so long in the making, and yet so many of those films turn out to be the ones that stand out. Maybe it's because they're not sausages coming off an assembly line.
They don't fit a formula, and also it takes crazy passion to make them happen. Mm-hmm. And I think that passion informs the final film.
And how much has it meant to your career to be an active voice, an active producer in helping to get these projects off the ground?
How has it informed my career?
Well, how has it affected, you think, the course of your career?
The course of my career? Well, I guess wasn't ever happy with just sitting around and waiting for the phone to ring and not getting the parts that I wanted to get so early on. Sarah Plain and Tall was the first thing I produced, and that was because the author, Patty McLaughlin, came to me and said, "Would you do it?" I said, "Why not?" But a lot of it is to create roles for myself. Mm-hmm. It sounds selfish, but man, if you're not getting them, go and create them.
No, it's not selfish. It's very practical, very pragmatic, and in your case, very successful. So that's a win-win for everybody, and for us in the audience too.
Yeah.
So
there are very few who just get fabulous, fabulous scripts thrown at them, all day long. I've never been one. Every now and then, but so I really, and all the young kids and those great kids that were on the red carpet, you could do that. I mean, there's so many. You should never sit around and wait for a phone to ring. You should be out there with your iPhone, with whatever it is, creating stuff that's your voice. That's
solid advice. That's solid advice coming from someone who's done it. So you're the proof of the pudding.
Yes, I guess I am.
Well, here's some more pudding for you. A scene from Albert Nobbs, and then The Wife.